Hello everyone, today we're going to talk about something that's not exactly easy to face. We're diving into the mind's denial, the trick it plays on us when it refuses to confront uncomfortable truths. Now, picture this, you're sitting in a room full of people, but somehow, you feel completely alone. You can hear the chatter, the laughter, but you're so disconnected, so distant from everything, as if your mind is telling you, this isn't real. Don't pay attention to how you really feel. The body knows what's going on, it's picking up on every signal, every flicker of discomfort, but the mind? The mind wants to ignore it all. It wants to pretend that everything is fine, even when it's falling apart inside. The body? Well, the body starts to betray you in ways you can't even explain. This is where it all begins, the mind's refusal to face the truth. The mind, that clever little trickster, keeps telling you to go on, keep moving, don't stop to think about what's really bothering you. But while the mind tells you everything is okay, your body starts sending out red flags. It could be something subtle at first, your shoulders tense up a little more than usual, or maybe your stomach feels like it's made of knots. But the more you ignore it, the worse it gets. The body can only hold so much before it starts making itself known. It's almost like the body's doing the talking for you because your mind isn't quite ready to speak up. Now, let me throw a little tidbit of human intelligence your way. The brain is actually incredibly adept at blocking out things it doesn't want to face. It's kind of like putting a blanket over a messy room and pretending it's all tidy. But here's the thing, your body doesn't play along. It's like a toddler throwing a tantrum, demanding attention. The mind might be saying, no, everything's fine, but the body's pulling at your sleeve, saying, hey, I need you to listen. And it's not just you, this happens to all of us. People are constantly trying to avoid their truths. Ever notice how when you're really stressed, your neck stiffens? Or maybe your back aches more than usual? Those are your body's subtle ways of telling you something's off, but the mind often refuses to acknowledge it. We've been conditioned to move forward, no matter the cost. But the cost, unfortunately, is real. When you ignore the truth for too long, the body eventually rebels. I want to tell you an odd fact here that might just blow your mind, your body actually keeps score. Yeah, really. Studies show that unresolved emotional stress can actually manifest as physical pain. So, that tension in your shoulders, the fatigue you can't shake off, it's not just in your head. It's in your body, too. And the crazy part is, we all know this deep down. We've all felt that tension, that weight of not acknowledging what's really bothering us. Yet we continue to push it away, convinced it's not a big deal. There's a point of open academic debate on this, whether the mind and body are truly separate entities or whether they're part of a much larger, interconnected system. Some researchers argue that the body is simply a vessel for the mind's thoughts, while others believe that physical health and mental health are so deeply intertwined that it's impossible to separate them. Either way, the bottom line is clear, when the mind is dishonest with itself, the body suffers. It's like ignoring a fire in the kitchen because you're too busy telling yourself it's just smoke. And let's talk about how we deal with this. We've all been there, right? Pushing through, telling ourselves that everything will be fine if we just keep going. We think we're being strong by ignoring the discomfort, but in reality, we're setting ourselves up for a bigger fall. So, before you convince yourself to push past that nagging pain in your neck or that heaviness in your chest, just remember, your body is speaking up. It's trying to tell you something you need to hear. Don't make the mistake of silencing it. And before we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this thought. The body doesn't lie. While the mind can hide, the body wears its truth like a badge of honor. If you're constantly feeling off, constantly drained, or if those aches and pains never quite go away, it's time to stop and listen. Your body's trying to tell you something important. So take a moment, breathe, and consider this. What's your body trying to say that your mind refuses to hear? The weight of lies. Let me tell you, there's a heaviness that comes with lies, whether it's the ones we tell others, or, perhaps even worse, the ones we tell ourselves. Picture this, you wake up in the morning, and everything seems okay. But then, little by little, a feeling creeps in. It's subtle, like a cloud forming over your head, and before you know it, it's there, hovering above you. It's a weight that doesn't make sense, a burden that doesn't have a clear origin. You try to shake it off, tell yourself it's nothing, but it lingers. This weight? It's the weight of dishonesty, the emotional toll of the lies that we allow to accumulate. It doesn't matter how big or small the lie is, eventually, it begins to manifest, affecting everything. The body feels it before the mind even realizes what's going on. At first, it's a little pressure in your chest. Maybe you feel your heart rate quicken for no reason, or perhaps you find yourself clenching your jaw more often. You're carrying around these falsehoods, and your body knows it's wrong. It's like you're trying to balance a stack of lies on your shoulders, and each one adds a little more weight. Eventually, it gets too much to handle. The tension builds up in your back, your muscles stiffen, and your mind starts to scramble, trying to figure out why you're so exhausted. But the real answer is simple, it's the lies you've been telling. They're weighing you down. And this isn't just some abstract concept. There's real science behind it. When we tell ourselves that everything's fine, even when it isn't, it creates cognitive dissonance, basically, a mental state where your mind knows one thing, but your actions tell a completely different story. This dissonance is stressful. It creates tension, anxiety, and even physical pain. The body knows there's a disconnect, and it reacts accordingly, making those little aches and pains turn into something much bigger. It's like having an argument between your mind and your body, and neither side is winning. Here's the thing, these lies don't always have to be monumental. We're talking about the small ones, the ones that seem harmless. I'm fine. I don't need help. I'll deal with it later. They're easy to brush off, right? But they build up over time, and before long, the body starts to scream. The weird thing is, the body will often start giving you these signals long before your mind acknowledges them. You might find yourself feeling irritable for no reason, or maybe you start getting headaches. Maybe you feel tired all the time. These physical signs are the body's way of saying, hey, you're not being truthful with yourself. Let me hit you with an odd fact here, did you know that lying can actually affect your physical health in the long run? It's true. A study showed that people who lie frequently experience higher levels of cortisol, the stress hormone. And high cortisol levels. They're linked to a range of physical health problems, from digestive issues to weight gain and even immune system suppression. So, those little white lies. They might seem harmless at first, but they add up. And eventually, they take a toll on your body. It's like you're carrying around an invisible burden that's slowly wearing you down. Now, here's where things get interesting. There's an open academic debate about the connection between stress and lying. Some researchers argue that the stress caused by dishonesty is more psychological than physical, while others claim that it can trigger a physical response in the body, especially if the lies are ongoing. Either way, one thing is clear, lies are heavy. And the more you tell, the harder it becomes to ignore the physical consequences. It's not just your mind that's affected, it's your body, too. The physical toll of dishonesty is real, and it's something we often overlook. But let's pause for a second and reflect. Think about the lies you've told recently. Maybe you've told a friend you were too busy to hang out, or maybe you've promised yourself that you'd get healthier, but never quite followed through. These aren't huge lies, right? But what happens when you keep adding them up? They start weighing on you. And over time, that weight begins to show itself physically. It could be in the form of back pain, digestive issues, or just a general sense of fatigue. It's like your body's trying to carry the burden of all those lies, and it's exhausting. And here's something else to think about, when you lie to others, you're also lying to yourself. You convince yourself that you're handling things when, deep down, you know you're not. That's where the real damage happens. The mind is clever, but the body is wiser. Eventually, the body can't take it anymore. It starts to rebel. You might not feel it immediately, but it's coming. The more you carry, the more your body demands that you pay attention. So, here's a little tip: honesty is like a weightlifting session for your soul. It's tough at first, but once you start shedding those lies, you'll feel lighter. It's not easy, but it's worth it. The body might fight back at first, resisting the change, but eventually, it'll thank you. The relief you feel when you stop carrying around those lies is like taking a deep breath after holding it in for too long. It's the kind of release your body's been craving, and when you finally give it, it'll respond in kind. Body's warning signals. Have you ever experienced that odd sensation where you just know something's not right, but you can't quite pinpoint what it is? It's like a little whisper in the back of your mind: something feels off, but the more you try to figure it out, the more elusive it becomes. The thing is, your body's been sending you warnings long before you consciously realize it. It's like your body is having a conversation with you, but instead of words, it's using these strange, sometimes subtle, physical signals. It might start as something small: an unexplained headache, a twinge in your lower back, or even just a sense of general discomfort. But, the more you ignore it, the louder the message gets. When the mind is dishonest with itself, when you refuse to face the truth of what's really going on inside, the body starts to act out. It's almost like the body becomes this incredibly honest, but slightly dramatic, friend who is desperate for you to listen. It knows the truth, even when you refuse to accept it. And instead of just waiting around for you to figure it out, it starts sending signals to get your attention. Maybe it's a tightness in your chest, a racing heart when you're supposed to be calm, or perhaps, a sense of fatigue that never seems to go away. These are the body's first warnings, and you'd be wise to pay attention to them. The physical signals are often so subtle at first that they're easy to dismiss. A stiff neck. Probably just slept wrong. Feeling tired all the time. Maybe you're just not getting enough sleep. A slight stomach ache. Could be something you ate. But when these signals keep popping up, when they linger and refuse to go away, that's when the warning bells should go off. The body is telling you that something is off. It's not just random, and it's certainly not something to ignore. Here's the tricky part: our minds tend to brush these things off. We're so used to pushing through discomfort, whether it's physical or emotional, that we don't always take the time to listen to what our bodies are telling us. We think, "Oh, it'll pass," or "I'm just stressed," and then we go about our day. But the body? The body doesn't forget. The more you ignore these signals, the more your body starts to escalate the message. That slight tension in your shoulders might turn into a full-blown migraine. That stomach ache could lead to chronic digestive issues. The body's messages are like a warning system, and when you ignore it, the consequences can grow from small inconveniences to bigger health problems. Oddly enough, the body's warning signals often manifest in the places where we store the most emotional tension. Ever notice that when you're stressed, your back starts aching or your jaw clenches? It's no coincidence. There's this fascinating connection between your emotional state and your physical body. Stress, anxiety, anger, these emotions don't just stay locked away in your mind. They find their way into your body, tightening your muscles, quickening your pulse, and making it harder for you to relax. The body's trying to protect you, but when you ignore it, it can't help but get louder. Let me throw an odd fact your way: did you know that emotions can cause physical pain? Researchers have found that emotional stress can trigger an increase in pain sensitivity in the body. That means, when you're stressed out or emotionally overwhelmed, your body becomes more sensitive to pain. So, those random aches and pains, they could very well be the body's way of telling you to slow down and deal with what's going on in your mind. The physical pain is not random, it's your body's cry for help, a signal that your emotional state is affecting you in ways you might not even realize. Here's an open academic debate for you: can emotional stress really lead to chronic health issues? Some researchers argue that stress, when chronic, can cause long-term damage to your health, from cardiovascular disease to autoimmune disorders. Others debate whether it's the accumulation of small stresses over time that truly leads to health issues, rather than any single stressful event. Either way, one thing is clear: ignoring the body's warning signals only increases the risk of long-term harm. So, if you feel that knot in your stomach or that tightness in your chest, it's worth paying attention to it. Your body's telling you that it's time to stop and listen. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle of life, constantly moving, constantly busy, and thinking you can just power through. But ignoring your body's warning signs is like driving a car without checking the oil. Eventually, something's going to break down. And when it does, it's going to be a lot harder to fix. The key here is to take the time to check in with yourself, to listen to your body, even when it's sending you these subtle, sometimes inconvenient signals. It doesn't matter how small they seem, because each warning is part of the bigger picture. So, next time you feel a headache creeping up or your back starts to feel tight, don't brush it off. Take a moment to pause and ask yourself what's really going on. Maybe there's something you've been avoiding. Maybe there's a truth you've been too scared to face. Whatever it is, your body is trying to help you figure it out. All you have to do is listen. The mask we wear. Imagine walking into a room, the spotlight's on you, and you suddenly feel the weight of everyone's eyes. What do? You put on a mask. You change your posture, your expression, the way you speak. You smile even when you don't feel like it, and you laugh along with the conversation, pretending everything's fine. We all wear masks, don't we? At some point or another, we've all hidden parts of ourselves because we think they're not acceptable or because we've been taught that vulnerability is a weakness. The mask becomes a shield, a way to protect the parts of us that we're afraid to show. But here's the thing, while the mask may protect us from the world, it does nothing but damage our bodies and our mental health over time. When we wear masks, we disconnect from our true selves. It's like we're living two lives, one where we pretend to be someone we're not, and another, the real us, hidden beneath the surface. The body begins to react to this disconnection, sending out signals that something's wrong. It's the body's way of saying, you're not being honest with yourself. It might start with minor discomforts like a tight throat or shallow breathing, but over time, it can manifest in more serious ways. We get headaches, digestive problems, chronic fatigue. The body is struggling to keep up with the mental gymnastics of pretending. Let's pause for a second and reflect on this. Why do we wear these masks? We do it because we're afraid of rejection, of being judged, or simply because we think we're not enough. There's societal pressure to look a certain way, to act a certain way, to be perfect, and the fear of not meeting those expectations can drive us to conceal who we truly are. It's exhausting, though. The more we hide, the more we distance ourselves from the truth, and the more our bodies protest. It's fascinating, really, how our minds and bodies are so connected. Every time we suppress an emotion or pretend to be okay when we're not, the body stores that tension. We may think we're getting away with it, but the truth is, the body keeps a record. That tightness in your jaw. That's probably from holding back something you wanted to say. That chronic back pain. Could be from the emotional weight of pretending to be someone you're not. The more we try to fit into a mold that doesn't suit us, the more we hurt ourselves physically and mentally. Did you know that some researchers have found that people who hide their emotions or try to suppress them tend to age faster? It's true. Studies show that the constant stress of pretending takes a toll on the body's ability to heal, slowing down cell regeneration and causing the skin to wrinkle prematurely. So, that fake smile you put on to avoid an awkward conversation. It might be aging you a little faster than you think. Now, there's a fascinating academic debate on whether suppressing emotions is truly harmful to health or if the consequences are more psychological. Some researchers argue that emotions, when repressed, can create deep-seated emotional trauma that manifests physically in the form of illnesses like heart disease and cancer. Others believe that it's the constant stress of hiding these emotions, rather than the emotions themselves, that leads to the physical harm. Either way, we can't ignore the fact that the act of hiding who we are does something to us. It changes us. It wears us down. When we wear a mask, we're not just hiding from the world. We're also hiding from ourselves. We lie to ourselves about what we need, about how we feel, and about who we are. And the body, as always, picks up on it. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It takes energy, and eventually, it pops back up, often when we least expect it. The body, like the truth, won't stay hidden forever. So, why do we keep doing it? Why do we wear the mask, knowing the toll it takes? It's because it feels safer. It feels like control, even though, in reality, it's the exact opposite. The more we try to control how others see us, the less control we have over our own lives. We lose touch with who we really are, and that's when the body starts to speak up. The physical consequences of pretending, of constantly masking our true selves, can be far-reaching. The more we do it, the more we convince ourselves that it's just part of life, just something we have to deal with. But it doesn't have to be that way. I challenge you to think about this. What would it feel like to take off the mask? What would it look like to show up in the world as you truly are, without pretending, without hiding? Sure, it's terrifying. But it's also liberating. And your body, believe me, will thank you. When you stop hiding, when you stop pretending, the weight on your shoulders will lighten. Your back will straighten. Your mind will clear. It might take time, but slowly, the body will begin to heal, and you'll start to feel more like yourself. So, next time you feel the urge to put on that mask, ask yourself, what am I afraid of? And more importantly, what am I sacrificing by not showing the world who I truly am? Small betrayals add up. You know, it's often the little things that make the biggest impact. You don't notice it right away, but after a while, these small betrayals, those tiny compromises we make every day, start to accumulate. Maybe it's that extra donut you promised yourself you wouldn't eat, or the moment you said, "I'm fine," when you were anything but. Each of these small actions, these quiet lies to ourselves, adds a little bit more weight. And much like a stack of coins, you don't feel the weight of one until the stack grows higher and higher. By the time you realize it, you're buried under a pile of minor decisions, none of which seem like a big deal on their own, but together, they're suffocating. Let's start with the basics. Small betrayals often feel harmless in the moment. You might tell yourself, "I'll just skip the gym today, it's no big deal." Or, "I don't really have to confront this person about what happened, I'll let it slide." These decisions feel so minor, like nothing more than a passing thought. But the body? The body doesn't forget. Every time you make an excuse, every time you justify your actions or inaction, your body holds on to it. The tension in your shoulders tightens a little more. Your chest feels a little heavier. It's almost like each small betrayal chips away at your peace of mind, and eventually, your body starts to feel the strain. Here's a fun fact to chew on. Studies have shown that people tend to overestimate the significance of large decisions, like choosing a new job or ending a relationship, and underestimate the impact of small, everyday choices. It's those little things, those small moments of dishonesty with ourselves, that build up and accumulate, and we don't even realize it until we're overwhelmed by the consequences. The body, however, keeps track. Every little decision that goes against your true desires or needs gets logged, and before long, it's creating a kind of internal chaos that manifests physically. It's the tension you feel when you've been avoiding conflict, or the anxiety that creeps in when you're not being true to yourself. The body's silently counting every betrayal, and eventually, it demands to be heard. But it's not just about avoiding the big stuff. Small betrayals can also take the form of avoiding the things you know you need to do to take care of yourself. Maybe you've been meaning to get more sleep but have been staying up late watching TV, telling yourself it's just one more episode. Maybe you've been ignoring a growing sense of frustration in your relationships, choosing to stay quiet rather than speak your truth. These little choices start to pile up, and the body reacts. You start feeling more tired than usual, more irritable, and more disconnected from yourself. The small betrayals take their toll, creating a slow burn of internal discord that eventually manifests as physical exhaustion, headaches, or a deep sense of dissatisfaction with life. Our brains are wired to handle big stressors better than chronic, low-level stress. That's why, when we experience long-term, unresolved issues like these little betrayals, the body reacts in ways that can seem disproportionate to the situation. It's the small, consistent stressors that create a cumulative effect, often leading to health problems like high blood pressure, chronic pain, and even digestive issues. So, even though it might seem like no big deal to skip the gym or avoid that uncomfortable conversation, the truth is, it's contributing to a mounting stress that the body can't ignore forever. Now, let's talk about the academic side of things. There's an ongoing debate about whether small betrayals are more harmful than larger ones. Some psychologists argue that these micro-betrayals, or small betrayals, are more insidious because they create long-term emotional distress without us realizing it. Others suggest that big betrayals, like major life events or trauma, have a more immediate and intense impact on our health. But one thing is clear, small betrayals, when left unchecked, can have a massive cumulative effect. The more you ignore the small signs, the more your body will begin to shout at you, demanding that you pay attention. Think about it. When was the last time you broke a promise to yourself? When was the last time you told yourself you'd do something, whether it was eating healthier, exercising, or taking care of your mental health, and didn't follow through? Those little betrayals build up, and over time, they can create a sense of disconnection from your true self. And the body, once again, picks up on this disconnection, sending out signals that something's wrong. So, what can we do about this? The key is in the awareness. Recognize that those little choices, those moments of dishonesty with yourself, are not as insignificant as they may seem. They add up. And they affect more than just your peace of mind, they affect your body, your health, and your overall well-being. The good news is, once you start acknowledging these small betrayals and making the decision to stop them, the body will start to respond in kind. The tension will ease. The fatigue will lift. The sense of dissatisfaction will fade. It's about realigning with yourself, doing what you know is right, and letting go of those small betrayals that have been quietly accumulating all along. Start small, make one promise to yourself and follow through. It could be as simple as drinking more water or getting up to stretch every hour. Whatever it is, honor that promise. Your body, your mind, and your future self will thank you. Escaping accountability. Let's talk about a slippery concept, accountability. We've all had those moments where we just don't want to face the music, right? Maybe it's the job we keep avoiding, the unfinished project that's sitting on our desk, or the relationship issue that we'd rather sweep under the rug. Avoiding accountability is like walking into a room full of mirrors but refusing to look at yourself. It's easier to turn away and pretend everything is fine, but deep down, we know better. The problem with evading accountability is that, like an unchecked debt, it accumulates. The longer we ignore it, the more it festers, and eventually, it demands attention in ways that we can't ignore. At first, avoiding accountability feels harmless. You can convince yourself that it's no big deal, that you'll deal with it later. But there's this invisible weight that starts to grow with every ignored responsibility. You know that feeling when you promise yourself you'll get to something tomorrow, and then tomorrow becomes next week? That guilt starts to build up. It's like a tiny stone in your shoe. At first, it's barely noticeable, but after a while, it begins to irritate you more and more until you can't ignore it. Your body feels the impact of this mental avoidance. It's not just about guilt, it's the energy drain that comes with living in a state of denial. The weight of unresolved issues slowly wears you down, leading to physical discomfort, tightness in your chest, clenched jaw, back pain, even digestive issues. It's your body's way of saying, you can't keep running from this. Here's a wild fact for you. Researchers have found that people who avoid responsibility or procrastinate experience higher levels of stress and anxiety. And this stress isn't just mental, it's physical. It shows up in your body in the form of tension, headaches, or even heart problems. Think about it, when you avoid something for long enough, it becomes this giant mental load, and eventually, that stress takes its toll on your physical health. So, when you skip accountability, it's not just your mind that's affected, it's your body, too. The thing is, the more you avoid accountability, the more your sense of self gets distorted. You start convincing yourself that you're fine, that you're handling things. But in reality, you're not. Your inner truth starts to fade as you keep dodging the responsibilities you've neglected. It's like living in a house with a broken foundation. The cracks get wider and deeper, and no matter how much you try to cover them up, they'll keep coming back to haunt you. When we avoid accountability, we're not just lying to the world, we're lying to ourselves. The truth is, we all have things that need to be addressed. Maybe it's something as small as returning a call or as big as confronting a major issue at work. Avoiding these things creates a mental block, and that block doesn't just stay in your head, it affects your body, too. You begin to feel mentally foggy, physically drained, and emotionally distant. The tension that builds up from evading accountability is like a slow burn, and if you keep ignoring it, the flame will eventually consume you. Here's an open academic debate: is procrastination always a form of avoidance, or is it just a coping mechanism? Some psychologists argue that procrastination is a way of avoiding the discomfort associated with starting or completing a task. Others believe that procrastination is a symptom of a deeper issue, like perfectionism or fear of failure. Whatever the cause, the fact remains that avoiding accountability causes real harm. The more you push things off, the more you create mental and physical stress, leading to burnout, anxiety, and even depression. In fact, chronic procrastination has been linked to health issues like insomnia, weight gain, and gastrointestinal problems. So, that "I'll get to it later" mindset. It's not as harmless as you think. Now, I'm not saying we should all be perfect and tackle every little task right away. Life isn't about being flawless. But it's about balance. When you consistently avoid the responsibilities that matter, when you consistently escape accountability, you're not just robbing yourself of peace, you're also setting yourself up for physical and emotional turmoil. The body is like a mirror for the mind. If the mind is avoiding, lying, or procrastinating, the body will reflect that back in the form of stress, pain, and discomfort. So, what's the solution? It's simple: start small. Tackle the little things first. Do the things you've been putting off, one step at a time. And when you begin to hold yourself accountable, when you start to take responsibility for your actions, you'll notice a shift. The mental fog will start to clear, and the weight on your shoulders will lighten. The body, too, will start to respond. The tension will ease. Your heart rate will slow. The back pain, the fatigue, the stress, all of that will begin to melt away, because your mind and body are finally in alignment. Taking accountability isn't about perfection, it's about facing the truth, one task at a time. It's about not running from your responsibilities, but confronting them head-on. When you do this, you'll find that the body stops rebelling, and instead, it starts healing. So, next time you feel that nagging sense of guilt or discomfort from avoiding something, take a moment to ask yourself, what am I running from? And more importantly, what would it feel like to finally face it? Conscious unconsciousness. There's something unsettling about knowing the truth but not being willing to acknowledge it. It's like standing in a room filled with glaring lights and pretending you're in total darkness. You can feel it, the truth lingering just on the edge of your awareness, but you actively choose to ignore it. This is the phenomenon I like to call conscious unconsciousness, the strange, almost paradoxical act of being aware that something is wrong but actively pushing that awareness away. It's the mind's defense mechanism, a way of protecting itself from discomfort by keeping the truth just out of reach. But while the mind may try to bury it, the body doesn't forget. The interesting thing about this form of denial is that it's not as obvious as, say, outright lying to yourself. It's more subtle. It's not about saying, "I don't have a problem," when you clearly do. It's about sensing the problem, knowing the truth, but deliberately refusing to confront it. You're conscious of the issue, but you keep it in the dark, pushing it to the farthest corners of your mind, pretending that it's not there. It's like the cognitive version of sweeping things under the rug. It's easy to do in the moment, but sooner or later, the rug starts to bulge, and the weight of all those unresolved issues becomes unbearable. Now, let's talk about how the body reacts to this. You might not think that hiding the truth from yourself could have physical consequences, but trust me, it does. When you suppress an emotion or avoid dealing with a truth, the body starts to show it. It could be something as simple as tension in your jaw or as complex as chronic neck pain. The body reacts to the stress of avoidance. You see, the body doesn't know how to separate the mind's conscious choices from its physical responses. If your mind is actively avoiding something, your body feels the strain, too. It's like holding your breath for too long. Eventually, you can't hold it anymore. Here's a fascinating, if somewhat odd, fact. Research shows that when people avoid thinking about something, their brains actually create a sort of mental, blind spot around that issue. This makes it harder to even recognize the problem, even though your brain is still processing it on a subconscious level. Your brain's like, nope, we're not thinking about this right now. But the body? The body still knows. And the longer you try to avoid the truth, the louder those physical signs get. The body doesn't have the same luxury as the mind to hide away. So, it makes its feelings known, whether you like it or not. You might think you're doing fine, but the body's trying to send you a message. Maybe you feel a knot in your stomach every time you think about something you're avoiding. Or perhaps your body's more dramatic, and you experience regular headaches or fatigue. It's as if the body is telling you, hey, you're pretending not to see this, but I can't keep ignoring it. It's like when you try to push a beach ball underwater, it's only a matter of time before it pops back up. And when the body starts to protest in earnest, you can no longer pretend that everything's fine. There's an open academic debate here about how long the mind can continue avoiding the truth before the body takes over. Some psychologists believe that the body has a tolerance for stress and can handle a certain amount of avoidance before it starts manifesting in physical symptoms. Others argue that it's not just about the amount of time you spend ignoring the truth, it's about the emotional intensity and the degree of denial. Either way, one thing is clear, the mind and body are far more connected than we realize. When the mind avoids, the body pays the price. So, what's the solution here? It's about bringing the truth into the light. I'm not saying it's easy. Honestly, confronting what you've been avoiding can feel like ripping a band-aid off a wound you've been trying to ignore. But the longer you delay, the more it hurts. The body won't let you escape the truth forever. So, step 1 is to start acknowledging what you've been avoiding, even if it's just a small realization. Once you bring that issue into your awareness, your body will begin to relax. The tension will ease, the headaches will fade, and you'll feel a little lighter. It's about bringing awareness to the areas you've been keeping in the shadows and letting them be seen. Once the mind and body are in sync, healing can begin. It's not about doing it all at once. You don't have to solve every problem right away. The process of conscious unconsciousness is a slow, ongoing journey of revealing the hidden parts of yourself, bit by bit. The more you confront, the easier it gets, and the less your body has to scream for your attention. It's like clearing the clutter out of your mind and making room for peace. And when you let the truth come to light, you'll notice something incredible happen. The physical symptoms of avoidance will begin to disappear. The body won't need to carry the burden anymore, because you're finally addressing what it's been trying to tell you all along. So, take a moment to reflect. What are you avoiding? What truths have you been keeping just out of sight? Start small, bring those truths into the light, and give your body the relief it's been waiting for. When you do, you'll find that the body and mind can finally come back into harmony. The aftermath of a broken trust. There's a certain kind of destruction that comes with betrayal, especially when it's trust that's been broken. Imagine a relationship, a deep connection, built over time. It could be a friendship, a romantic bond, or even a relationship with yourself. You trust them, or you trust yourself, fully. But then something happens, and that trust is shattered. In that moment, the world feels like it tilts slightly off balance. It's a strange, almost physical sensation. Your chest tightens, your breath quickens, and your mind starts racing. Trust is one of the most foundational elements of any relationship, and when it's broken, it leaves a gaping hole in the space where it once stood. The aftermath of this kind of betrayal isn't something you can easily brush off. It's not just emotional, it's physical, too. The body reacts to broken trust in ways we often don't realize. It's like a silent injury, invisible, but incredibly real. When someone or something you've trusted disappoints you, the body feels it on a deep level. It could be a tightness in your throat as you try to speak, the sudden loss of energy, or even a physical ache that doesn't seem to have an obvious source. The heart, so full of belief before, now feels heavy. The body feels broken, much like the trust. You might think it's all in your head, but in reality, your body has been holding on to this betrayal far longer than you may realize. The mind wants to move on quickly, rationalizing the situation or trying to forgive and forget, but the body doesn't work that way. It doesn't just let go of pain that easily. Instead, it holds on to the emotional weight and, over time, it starts to show up in more physical ways: chronic pain, digestive issues, sleep disturbances. Your body isn't just reacting to what's happening now, it's holding on to the memory of the betrayal, keeping it tucked away where it can't be ignored. It's like a wound that hasn't fully healed, festering beneath the surface. Here's something interesting and, frankly, a little odd. Researchers have found that emotional pain, like the pain caused by betrayal, activates the same regions in the brain as physical pain. In fact, some studies suggest that emotional injuries, especially those involving trust, can feel as real and intense as physical wounds. It's as if the body doesn't differentiate between the pain of a broken heart and the pain of a bruised knee. The intensity of this emotional pain has a direct impact on your physical health, showing up in everything from headaches to chronic muscle tension. It's as though the body's nervous system doesn't know how to process this invisible injury, so it manifests in physical ways. But let's talk about how this works in the long term. The truth is, unresolved betrayal doesn't just go away. You may push it down for a while, try to move past it, but that unresolved trauma can build up over time. This is where it gets dangerous. When you ignore the aftermath of a broken trust, you're not just allowing emotional pain to linger, you're inviting physical dis-ease. It's a slow burn that can lead to chronic conditions. The body responds to betrayal in the same way it responds to prolonged stress. It activates the fight-or-flight response, which increases cortisol levels, lowers immune function, and puts strain on your organs. The emotional turmoil of betrayal becomes a constant background noise to your physical health, eating away at your well-being. Now, let's toss in a little academic debate here. There's an argument over whether emotional betrayal actually changes the way the brain functions, leading to long-term changes in how we process trust in the future. Some researchers believe that the pain of betrayal actually rewires the brain, making it harder for us to trust again. Others argue that, with time, people can heal from betrayal and learn to trust again, even if the emotional scars remain. Either way, it's clear that the aftermath of broken trust is not something to be taken lightly. It lingers, and it affects both mind and body in profound ways. There is hope. The body, though it may hold on to betrayal, is also incredibly resilient. It can heal, especially when we allow ourselves to truly confront and process the pain. It's not easy. It takes time, patience, and a willingness to face the uncomfortable feelings. But the healing process begins when we stop running from the truth. The more we deny the pain, the more it takes root in our bodies. But when we acknowledge it, allow ourselves to grieve, and slowly rebuild trust, both with others and ourselves, the body starts to release the tension, the pain, and the stress. The healing is gradual, but it's real. One of the most powerful ways to begin healing from betrayal is to practice forgiveness. Not for the other person, because they may not even deserve it, but for yourself. Forgiveness is not about excusing the behavior that hurt you, it's about releasing the grip that the betrayal has on your body and your mind. It's about freeing yourself from the chains of anger and resentment. And when you begin to forgive, even in small steps, the body begins to relax. The weight that you've been carrying starts to lift. It's a long road, but the first step is acknowledging that the pain is real, and giving yourself permission to heal. So, take a moment to reflect on your own experiences. What trust has been broken in your life? And how have you been holding on to that betrayal, perhaps without even realizing it? What would it feel like to begin the process of letting go, of forgiving, of allowing the body to heal? The search for external validation. We live in a world that constantly demands our attention, shaping how we see ourselves, how we feel about who we are, and, inevitably, how we validate our worth. We've all been there, the constant search for approval, the need to feel seen and appreciated by others. Whether it's a like on a social media post, a compliment from a friend, or praise from a boss, we often find ourselves looking outside ourselves for validation. It's a natural human instinct, but it can become a dangerous trap if we allow it to control how we feel about ourselves. The truth is, when we place our worth in the hands of others, we become vulnerable. We lose touch with our true selves and, eventually, the body begins to show the effects. At first, it doesn't seem so bad, right? A little validation never hurt anyone. A word of encouragement here, a recognition there, it feels good. And of course, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be appreciated. But when the need for validation becomes a constant craving, that's when things start to get tricky. The more we look outside ourselves for confirmation, the less we listen to our inner voice. We start to ignore what we truly need and begin to base our actions, choices, and feelings on what will make others happy or what will gain us approval. It's like trying to fill a cup that has a hole in it. The more you pour, the emptier it feels. What happens next is the quiet rebellion of the body. The more we rely on external validation, the more disconnected we become from our true needs, and the more stress we accumulate. We start to feel more anxious, more insecure, and more drained. The body responds to this imbalance with physical symptoms. Maybe you find yourself feeling constantly fatigued, unable to shake that feeling of emptiness, or perhaps you develop tension in your jaw or shoulders as you brace yourself for the next compliment or validation. The body is telling you that something is out of alignment. You're seeking external sources of worth, but deep down, you know that true validation has to come from within. Here's an interesting fact that might surprise you. Studies show that people who are overly reliant on external validation are more prone to emotional exhaustion and burnout. Why? Because when your self-worth is tied to how others perceive you, it's like living on a never-ending emotional roller coaster. The highs feel amazing, but the lows are devastating. And each time you try to fill that void with praise or approval, it takes more and more energy, but never really satisfies the hunger inside. It's like feeding a fire with gasoline. It burns bright for a moment, but eventually, it consumes everything. The physical toll of this cycle is real. Anxiety, depression, chronic stress, and even physical ailments like heart problems and digestive issues are linked to the emotional strain of seeking external validation. And here's an odd fact for you. Did you know that the constant need for external validation can actually alter the way your brain processes social interactions? Studies have found that people who are highly dependent on external approval have a stronger response to social feedback, whether positive or negative. In fact, this reliance on validation can create a loop of heightened emotional sensitivity. When you rely on others for your self-esteem, every word, every glance, every action is magnified in your mind. It's as if your sense of self is on the line with every interaction. The body, once again, picks up on this and responds with stress, muscle tension, and other physical signs of emotional turmoil. Let's shift gears for a second and dive into the academic debate on this topic. Is seeking external validation inherently damaging, or is it simply a natural part of human social behavior? Some psychologists argue that seeking approval is part of our evolutionary need for social connection and survival. It's how we form bonds, build relationships, and feel part of a community. Others believe that the constant search for external validation, particularly in today's digital age, creates a toxic cycle that leads to emotional instability and a lack of self-worth. Regardless of the academic debate, one thing is clear: when we become too dependent on external sources of validation, we lose sight of our own inner compass. And when that happens, the body starts to rebel. So, what's the solution? It's about turning inward, reconnecting with your true self, and learning to validate yourself without relying on others to do it for you. It sounds simple, but in practice, it can be incredibly difficult. You have to learn to recognize your worth independent of anyone else's opinion. It's about embracing your uniqueness, your flaws, your strengths, and your journey. The more you rely on your own inner validation, the less you'll feel the need to seek it from others. And when that happens, the body starts to relax. The anxiety eases. The tension fades. You begin to feel a sense of peace that's rooted in who you truly are, not in how others see you. Take a moment and think about this. What parts of your life have you been seeking external validation for? What choices or actions have you made based on how others will perceive you? And more importantly, what would it feel like to stop seeking that approval and instead start validating yourself? What would it be like to truly appreciate who you are, just as you are, without needing anyone else's permission to do so? The road to self-validation is a journey, not a destination. But with each step you take, you'll find that the body's tension, anxiety, and stress begin to fade away. You'll begin to live authentically, and that sense of peace will show up in ways you never expected. The body, once again, will thank you for it. Dissociating from the self. Have you ever had the feeling that you're not really present, like you're going through the motions of life but aren't fully engaged in it? It's like living in a fog, where everything seems distant and disconnected. The truth is, many of us dissociate from ourselves without even realizing it. It's a defense mechanism, a way of coping with difficult emotions or situations by detaching from our true selves. We do it to avoid the discomfort of feeling vulnerable, of facing parts of ourselves we'd rather ignore. But this dissociation doesn't come without consequences. When we disconnect from who we really are, the body begins to protest. It's like being a stranger in your own skin, and the body, ever attuned to your true state, starts to signal that something is wrong. At first, dissociation can seem harmless. Maybe you're just zoning out when things get overwhelming. Maybe you're numbing yourself with distractions, avoiding the deeper emotions that are difficult to confront. It might seem like a simple coping mechanism. But the more you disconnect, the more the distance between who you truly are and the version you present to the world widens. The body starts to feel the effects of this disconnection. It's not just emotional exhaustion or mental burnout, it becomes physical. You may start to feel physically detached from yourself, like your body is functioning without your awareness. It's as though you're living on autopilot, going through the motions but not truly experiencing life. This can manifest as chronic fatigue, a lack of energy, or even a sense of numbness that extends beyond just emotions. Your body is telling you that it's no longer in sync with the mind. One of the most interesting aspects of dissociation is that it doesn't just affect our mental and emotional well-being, it also affects our physical health. When we disconnect from our true selves, we stop paying attention to what our bodies need. We ignore hunger cues, sleep, and stress signals. We push through the day without listening to the warning signs that something's off. Eventually, the body starts to break down. You might find yourself dealing with chronic tension, digestive issues, or headaches. These physical symptoms are the body's way of trying to wake you up. It's saying, you can't keep running from yourself. You can't keep dissociating from your own needs. It's fascinating, though, because dissociation can happen for all sorts of reasons. It's often linked to trauma, stress, or even just the demands of daily life that push us to keep moving forward without stopping to check in with ourselves. But what's even more interesting is that some studies suggest that dissociation can actually become a habit, a pattern we fall into because it feels safer. The mind becomes accustomed to not feeling, to not being fully aware, and over time, it becomes harder to reconnect with our true selves. This is when the body really starts to pay the price. It's like trying to operate a car without looking at the dashboard. The signals are there, but you're too disconnected to see them. And when something breaks down, you're left wondering why you didn't notice sooner. Did you know that there's a phenomenon called somatic dissociation, where trauma or emotional numbness can actually cause the body to lose its sense of physical boundaries? People who experience this can sometimes feel like they're not fully inhabiting their bodies, like they're outside themselves, watching things happen rather than living them. This can be a physical manifestation of the emotional and mental dissociation we're talking about. It's not just a feeling of being out of touch with your emotions, it's a literal sense of being disconnected from your physical self. And when the body loses its sense of self, it becomes harder to manage stress, to recognize when something is wrong, and ultimately, to heal. The academic debate around dissociation centers on how it relates to mental health and trauma. Some researchers argue that dissociation is a survival mechanism, a way of protecting the mind from overwhelming emotions or situations. Others suggest that chronic dissociation can be harmful, leading to long-term issues like depression, anxiety, and physical illness. But what's clear is this: when we dissociate from ourselves, we're cutting ourselves off from our ability to heal. The body can't function properly if it's not fully connected to the mind. And when the mind is constantly disconnected from the truth of who we are, the body starts to suffer. So, what's the solution? It's all about reconnecting with yourself. It's about bringing your mind back into your body and listening to what it's telling you. It might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you've been dissociating for a long time, but the more you practice being present with yourself, the easier it becomes. Start small. Pay attention to your body's signals. When you feel that tension in your shoulders, instead of brushing it off, take a moment to breathe and ask yourself why it's there. When you feel tired, instead of pushing through, honor your need for rest. The more you listen to your body, the more you'll begin to reconnect with yourself, and the more your body will start to respond positively. Remember, your body is your home. It's where you live. So, take the time to come back to it, to check in with yourself, and to honor your own needs. When you do, you'll find that the dissociation begins to fade, and the body starts to heal. It's not an overnight process, but every small step you take towards reconnecting with yourself is a step towards a more balanced, fulfilled, and healthy life. The power of forgiveness. Forgiveness is a word we hear often, but we rarely stop to think about what it really means. It's more than just letting someone off the hook for their mistakes. It's a deeply personal process that affects not only the person you're forgiving but also your own body and mind. Imagine holding onto a grudge for years. Every time you think about the person who wronged you, a heavy weight settles in your chest. You relive the hurt, feel the sting again, and with each thought, your body tenses, your heart races. It's like carrying a backpack full of bricks, and each brick represents a past hurt, a moment of betrayal, a mistake that someone made against you. The longer you carry that weight, the heavier it gets. Forgiveness isn't easy. It feels like giving up your power, letting go of the anger and pain that you've been holding onto for so long. But here's the thing: when you don't forgive, you're not punishing the other person. You're only punishing yourself. You're keeping that heavy backpack strapped to your back, and with each step, you're carrying around the weight of past injuries. The body feels every ounce of that weight. Your shoulders sag, your neck tenses, and your energy drains away. But forgiveness is like taking off that backpack. It doesn't mean forgetting what happened or pretending it didn't hurt, it means choosing to stop letting that pain control you. Forgiving doesn't always mean reconciling with the person who wronged you. Sometimes, it's a decision to release the emotional hold that they have on you, a way of setting yourself free. You might think, "I'll never forgive them," but the truth is, the person who wronged you has likely moved on, while you're still stuck in the past, replaying the same hurt over and over again. Each time you do, the body responds. That tension in your chest returns, your stomach tightens, your thoughts race. It's as if you're reliving the hurt, as if it's happening all over again. And all the while, the body stores that pain, over and over. Here's an interesting fact: studies have shown that forgiveness can have profound physical benefits. People who practice forgiveness are less likely to experience chronic pain, sleep disturbances, and even heart disease. Why? Because holding on to anger and resentment releases stress hormones, like cortisol, that wreak havoc on the body over time. When you forgive, you lower your stress levels, ease the tension in your body, and allow yourself to heal. It's like giving your body permission to relax, to stop carrying the burden of past injuries. Forgiveness isn't just a gift you give to others, it's a gift you give yourself. It's a way of lightening your load, of finding peace within yourself. An odd, but fascinating fact, some research suggests that forgiveness can even change the way your brain functions. In one study, people who forgave others showed increased activity in areas of the brain associated with empathy and emotional regulation, and decreased activity in the parts of the brain linked to stress and anger. It's like forgiveness rewires your brain, allowing you to experience the world differently. Instead of holding on to grudges and resentment, you start to create space for peace and understanding. The body, in turn, responds to this shift. When your brain is less consumed by anger, your body feels less tense, less fatigued, and more relaxed. But forgiveness isn't just about the person who hurt you, it's about forgiving yourself, too. We often forget that, don't we? We hold on to guilt, shame, and self-blame, thinking that we somehow deserve the pain. We punish ourselves for mistakes, failures, and missteps, refusing to let go of the past. But just like forgiveness towards others, forgiveness towards yourself is liberating. It's about accepting that you're human, that you're allowed to make mistakes, and that you don't have to carry the weight of guilt forever. When you forgive yourself, the body begins to release the tension that comes with self-blame. The shoulders that have been tight from shame begin to loosen. The constant feeling of exhaustion, of not being enough, begins to fade. It's like taking a deep, cleansing breath after holding it in for too long. There's an ongoing debate in psychology about whether forgiveness is a necessary step for emotional healing, or if it's possible to heal without forgiving. Some argue that forgiveness is essential for moving on, while others believe that healing can occur through other means, like acceptance or simply letting go of the emotional attachment to the hurt. But one thing is clear, when you forgive, whether it's for others or for yourself, the body and mind begin to heal together. The emotional scars that once seemed so painful start to fade. The weight of the past lightens, and you start to feel more at peace. Forgiveness isn't a one-time event, it's a process. It's something you have to choose every day, especially when the pain resurfaces. It's a journey, but it's one that's worth taking. And as you move through that journey, you'll begin to notice the changes in your body. The tension, the fatigue, the stress, they'll start to melt away. The healing process might take time, but each step towards forgiveness is a step towards freedom. You'll feel lighter, more present, and more at peace, knowing that you've released the hold that past pain once had on you. So, take a moment and ask yourself, who do you need to forgive? Maybe it's someone else. Maybe it's yourself. But whatever it is, remember that forgiveness isn't about excusing the past, it's about setting yourself free. And as you do, your body will thank you for it. Facing the mirror. There's an undeniable moment in life when you have to face the mirror. Not just the physical one, but the metaphorical one. This moment is crucial, as it marks the time when you can no longer avoid the reflection staring back at you. It's a confronting, sometimes uncomfortable process, where you can no longer hide from the truth of who you are, your flaws, your mistakes, your victories, and your imperfections. Standing before the mirror, both literally and figuratively, is a moment of reckoning. It's where we meet ourselves as we truly are, unpolished, unfiltered, and raw. At first, this moment feels terrifying. We've all been conditioned to wear masks, to show the world a version of ourselves that we think others will accept or admire. But when you finally face the mirror, you're forced to confront all the parts of you that you've been avoiding, the parts that are bruised, broken, or perhaps just neglected. The body knows when it's been hiding, and it responds. Maybe you feel a sudden tightness in your chest, or perhaps a wave of discomfort washes over you. It's as though the body is reacting to the emotional exposure. And it's not easy. It's painful, it's challenging, but it's also incredibly liberating. It's important to realize that the mirror isn't just a reflection of your physical appearance. It's a reflection of everything you've experienced, your thoughts, your actions, your emotions. Every smile you've faked, every lie you've told, every time you've hidden from the truth, all show up in that mirror. The body, in its infinite wisdom, doesn't lie. It carries the weight of all these experiences, even the ones you've buried deep within yourself. The tension in your jaw, the knots in your stomach, the stiffness in your neck, they're all physical manifestations of the emotional toll you've carried. Here's something you might find: your physical appearance is actually influenced by how you feel about yourself. Studies have shown that people who struggle with self-acceptance often have more difficulty with their physical health, too. They're more prone to stress, more likely to suffer from chronic illness, and more likely to experience fatigue and pain. It's as though the body reflects the internal world. When you don't acknowledge the truth of who you are, when you avoid facing the mirror, the body suffers. But here's the good news: facing the mirror is the first step toward healing. It's the moment when you stop running, stop hiding, and stop pretending. It's a moment of authenticity, and although it feels vulnerable, it's also the most powerful thing you can do for yourself. Because when you face the mirror and acknowledge the truth of who you are, something shifts. The body begins to relax. The tension that you've carried for so long starts to fade. It's as though the body finally feels seen, finally feels understood. This is where the healing begins. It's not about changing who you are or erasing the past, it's about accepting it. It's about understanding that the broken parts of you are just as important as the whole parts. And once you can accept the truth of who you are, your body will begin to respond. The stiffness in your shoulders will begin to loosen. Your mind will clear. You'll feel a sense of peace that comes with no longer hiding from yourself. The power of facing the mirror is that it allows you to reclaim your truth, to come back to yourself, and to stop living in denial. There's an ongoing academic debate about the connection between self-acceptance and physical health. Some researchers believe that self-compassion is key to maintaining good health, while others argue that emotional acceptance is the catalyst for healing physical ailments. Whichever side you lean towards, one thing is clear: when we accept ourselves, when we face the truth, we begin to heal, not just emotionally, but physically as well. The body responds to the mind's willingness to be honest, to face the things we've been avoiding, and to embrace who we truly are. And here's a final thought: the next time you stand in front of that mirror, take a moment to truly see yourself. Don't just glance at your reflection and rush away. Stand there. Look at the person you've become, the person who's been through so much, who's made mistakes, who's learned and grown. See the strength in your eyes, the wisdom in your expression, and the resilience in your posture. And remember, the more you face the mirror, the more you accept yourself, the lighter your body will feel. The more you stand in your truth, the more you'll heal. It's not an easy journey, but it's worth it. The mirror will always reflect your truth, and when you accept that truth, your body will finally begin to release all the tension, all the stress, and all the weight that you've been carrying. The resilient body. It's truly incredible what the body is capable of when you stop fighting it. For so long, we've been conditioned to push through, to ignore the warning signs, to carry the weight of our emotional baggage, and to just keep going. We tell ourselves, "I'm fine," even when the body is screaming otherwise. But here's the truth: the body is resilient. It has an extraordinary ability to bounce back, to heal, and to thrive, even after years of neglect. The key to unlocking this resilience, however, lies in learning to listen to it, to honor it, and to give it the care it needs. Think about a time when you've pushed yourself to the brink. Maybe it was a stressful job, a toxic relationship, or just the relentless demands of life. During those times, did you notice how your body started to rebel? Perhaps it was a constant headache, an aching back, or overwhelming fatigue. But here's the catch: the body doesn't just break down because of external stress, it breaks down because we've ignored the subtle messages it's been sending us for so long. When we don't listen to those quiet warnings, the body has no choice but to get louder. But even when the body feels broken, it's remarkable how quickly it can begin to heal once we start paying attention. The body, in its infinite wisdom, knows how to repair itself. Think about it: when you cut your finger, it heals without you doing a thing. The same principle applies to emotional and mental healing. When you start addressing the issues that are causing your stress, whether it's confronting old traumas, letting go of past guilt, or simply learning to rest, the body begins to respond. It starts to relax, it starts to release the tension, and it starts to heal. The process is gradual, but every small step counts. When you stop fighting your body, when you stop ignoring its signals, it can begin to function the way it was always meant to. You might feel more energy, your sleep might improve, and those little aches and pains might start to fade. It's like you've been walking with a limp for years, but once you take the time to heal, you find that you can move without that constant discomfort. The body's resilience isn't about forcing it to heal faster or pushing it past its limits, it's about allowing it to find its natural rhythm again. What's truly amazing is that the body doesn't just heal in a physical sense. When we stop ignoring our mental and emotional health, the body also begins to heal on a deeper level. The mind and body are so intricately connected that emotional healing can have a profound effect on physical health. Letting go of anger, resentment, or regret doesn't just lighten your emotional load, it can ease muscle tension, improve your digestion, and even boost your immune system. It's as if the body, when given the space to heal emotionally, responds by becoming stronger and more balanced. Here's an odd fact: researchers have discovered that positive emotions can actually improve the body's ability to fight off illness. People who cultivate positive emotions like gratitude, joy, and love tend to have stronger immune systems, fewer illnesses, and faster recovery times from physical ailments. It's almost as though the body knows that emotional well-being is crucial for maintaining physical health. So, by nurturing your mental and emotional state, you're not only improving your mood, you're improving your body's resilience, too. But let's not sugarcoat it, healing is not a linear process. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, and there will be times when you feel like you're not making progress. But the truth is, even when it feels like you're stuck, the body is still working behind the scenes. Every time you choose to face a painful truth, every time you stop pushing through the discomfort and take time to heal, the body responds. It might not be immediate, but it's happening. The more you let go of past pain, the more you stop ignoring the things that are weighing you down, the more the body will heal itself. There's an open academic debate about whether the body's resilience is a matter of genetics or environment. Some scientists argue that resilience is something we're born with, a natural part of our genetic makeup. Others believe that resilience is built over time, shaped by our experiences and the choices we make. Regardless of the argument, one thing is certain: we all have the capacity for resilience. The body, no matter how much we put it through, has the ability to bounce back, to heal, and to grow stronger. It's a testament to the incredible power of the human body that, even when we neglect it, it still strives to heal. The more we honor that power, the quicker the body responds. So, take a moment to reflect on your own resilience. When was the last time you gave your body credit for how much it has endured and overcome? The next time you're feeling overwhelmed, remember that the body is not some fragile entity to be ignored, it's a powerful force that, when given the proper care, can heal and thrive. Start listening to it, start nurturing it, and watch as the body becomes stronger than you ever thought possible. The mind's redemption. The mind is an incredible thing, capable of immense creativity, brilliance, and endurance. But it's also incredibly fragile. Throughout life, the mind accumulates experiences, memories, beliefs, traumas, that shape how we see the world, how we see others, and, most importantly, how we see ourselves. And if we're not careful, the mind can become clouded with negativity, shame, and guilt, each layer further obscuring the truth of who we are. But there is redemption, even for the mind. Just as the body has the power to heal, so too does the mind. It's a process, one that requires patience, compassion, and the willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. But when the mind begins its redemption, it can transform not only the way we think, but the way we experience life. It's easy to fall into a trap of negative thinking, especially when life hasn't been kind to us. We internalize the hurt, we carry the weight of past mistakes, and we hold on to the belief that we're not good enough. The mind becomes bogged down with these negative thoughts, replaying them over and over, making it harder and harder to escape the cycle. It's like being stuck in a loop, where the same limiting beliefs hold us hostage. But here's the thing, the mind can be reprogrammed. It's not an overnight change, but little by little, we can shift our thoughts, release the negativity, and start to see ourselves in a different light. The first step towards the mind's redemption is awareness. It's the moment when you stop and realize that the thoughts you've been carrying, those voices of doubt, shame, and fear, aren't the truth. They're just stories that have been told to you by others, by society, or by the past. And the beauty of these stories is that you can rewrite them. You can decide that you're no longer going to let them control your life. This is the moment when you stop identifying with your past mistakes and start identifying with your inherent worth. The moment you take ownership of your narrative, the mind begins to heal. But healing the mind is not about denying the past or ignoring the pain, it's about acknowledging it, accepting it, and moving forward. The mind's redemption comes from recognizing that you are not your mistakes, your failures, or your hurt. You are something much greater, a person capable of growth, of change, and of healing. And when you begin to embrace this truth, the mind starts to shift. It's like a cloud lifting, allowing the sun of clarity and self-compassion to shine through. The negative patterns that once dominated your thoughts begin to fade, replaced by more empowering beliefs. You begin to see yourself as whole, as worthy, and as capable of creating the life you desire. Here's an odd, yet fascinating fact: studies have shown that when we actively engage in positive self-talk and affirmations, it can physically change the structure of our brain. Neuroscientists have discovered that the brain has something called neuroplasticity, which means it can rewire itself in response to new thoughts and behaviors. In other words, when we choose to think positively, to affirm our worth, and to rewrite the stories that hold us back, the brain begins to create new neural pathways that are more aligned with who we truly are. The mind can heal and transform itself, but it requires us to take the first step, to choose the redemption of our thoughts. And this isn't just some abstract theory, it's a practice that can be implemented every day. Start with small changes. Instead of berating yourself for not being perfect, celebrate your progress. Instead of dwelling on past mistakes, focus on the lessons you've learned. Instead of telling yourself you're not good enough, remind yourself that you are more than enough. Over time, these small shifts accumulate, and the mind begins to redeem itself. Negative thoughts lose their power over you, and you begin to feel more at peace, more in control, and more connected to your true self. There's an open academic debate on the power of self-compassion and its role in mental healing. Some argue that self-compassion is essential for overcoming negative thoughts and emotional trauma, while others suggest that it's a more complex process that requires both self-compassion and action. Either way, one thing is clear: the act of redeeming the mind involves a shift in how we view ourselves. It's about treating ourselves with kindness, understanding, and patience, just as we would treat a loved one going through a difficult time. When we give ourselves permission to heal, the mind begins to realign with our true potential. The mind's redemption is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about forgiving yourself for past mistakes, releasing the weight of self-judgment, and embracing the truth that you are worthy of love, peace, and happiness. When you begin to cultivate this self-compassion and self-love, you'll notice a shift in how you perceive the world. You'll feel lighter, more open, and more connected to the present moment. And as the mind heals, the body will follow suit, responding with less tension, less stress, and a greater sense of overall well-being. So, the next time you feel trapped by negative thoughts, remember this: the mind has the power to redeem itself. It can heal, it can grow, and it can transform into something that serves your highest good. All it takes is the courage to face your thoughts, the willingness to challenge old beliefs, and the commitment to love yourself through the process. The journey to wholeness. There's something powerful about the moment you finally realize that you're whole, even in your brokenness. For so long, we've been taught to view ourselves as fragmented, as incomplete, as needing to be fixed. We think we need to be perfect, that our flaws are something to hide or fix. But the truth is, our wholeness isn't about perfection, it's about embracing every part of ourselves, the light and the dark, the strengths and the weaknesses. Wholeness comes from understanding that we are all made up of many pieces, and that each piece is integral to who we are. It's about accepting ourselves fully and without judgment, and allowing ourselves to heal from the inside out. This journey to wholeness isn't linear. It's not something you achieve in a single moment. It's a process, one that unfolds slowly, one step at a time. And just like the body and mind, the journey is intertwined. You can't have one without the other. As the mind heals, the body follows. And as the body heals, the mind becomes clearer. Together, they create a sense of balance, a sense of peace, and a sense of alignment that allows you to feel truly whole. The first step towards this wholeness is acknowledging that you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to live up to anyone else's standards or expectations. You are enough, just as you are. It's okay to have imperfections. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be human. In fact, it's this very humanness that makes you unique, that makes you beautiful. And when you can accept that, when you can embrace your flaws with love and compassion, the body begins to release the tension it's been carrying. No longer are you fighting against yourself, you're flowing with yourself, embracing every part of your journey, trusting that every step, even the difficult ones, are leading you to a more authentic version of who you are. It's a slow unraveling, a shedding of the layers you've built up over the years, the masks you've worn, the stories you've told yourself. And with each layer that falls away, you get closer to the truth of who you really are. The body responds to this process, shedding the tension and discomfort it's been holding. You start to feel lighter, more at ease. The mind begins to quiet, the self-doubt starts to fade, and a sense of peace washes over you. There's an open academic debate about the concept of wholeness and whether it's truly attainable, or if it's simply an ideal we chase in order to feel better about ourselves. Some researchers argue that the idea of wholeness is a socially constructed ideal, something we strive for because we're taught to believe it's the ultimate goal. Others suggest that wholeness is an ongoing process, one that we can never fully complete, but can always work towards. No matter where you stand on the debate, the reality is that the journey to wholeness is deeply personal. It's about the steps you take, the choices you make, and the healing you allow yourself to experience. As you walk this journey, you'll find that wholeness doesn't mean you'll never face challenges or experience pain again. It doesn't mean you'll always feel perfect or at peace. But it does mean that you've learned to accept yourself, flaws and all. It means that you've learned to embrace the difficult parts of your life and see them as opportunities for growth. It means you've learned that healing is not about perfection, it's about progress, about continuously becoming the best version of yourself. The beautiful part of this journey is that the body and mind, once aligned, begin to support each other in ways you never thought possible. As you heal emotionally, your body heals physically. As you embrace your true self, your energy becomes brighter, your spirit stronger, and your presence more authentic. The more you allow yourself to be whole, the more you experience life fully, with all its ups and downs, its joys and challenges. And as you embrace your wholeness, you realize that you are not alone on this journey. Every person you encounter is also on their own path to healing, to growth, and to wholeness. It's about understanding that, no matter how broken or lost you might feel at times, you are not fractured. You are complete. You are whole. The scars, the pain, the struggles, they are all part of your journey, part of the story that makes you who you are. And the more you accept this, the more you step into your own power, your own truth, and your own potential. You begin to live from a place of peace, knowing that you are exactly where you need to be, right now. So, take a moment to reflect on your journey. What has it taught you? What parts of yourself have you learned to embrace? What pieces of your past have you let go of, and what new pieces have you discovered within yourself? Remember, the journey to wholeness is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming fully yourself. And when you do, the body and mind will thank you. You will feel lighter, stronger, and more at peace than you ever thought possible.